Trying to find you.
Yeah. Spark! Come! Spark! I will have to go down, then he will know. Spark! 来 Sparks is also a roaming dog whereby we do not know where he usually stay in, don't know which factory he comes from. So we are always looking out for him along our feeding route. Spark. Hey, where are you going? Okay, come. Teddy, he was actually a chain-up dog. So the previous owner was keeping him in the kitchen with a short leash. For all the time in his years, I think he has been chained up. He has a very, very nice temperament. We also don't understand why the previous owner needs to chain him up. Teddy, he has a heart condition. Actually, he is on long-term heart medication, so he's not the dog that you can bring him out, to jog with you. You need to look after him, watch him closely, monitor him even when he sleeps. So he might, the heart attack might just come and go without giving us any, warning ahead. Yeah. Although he is a Singapore special, but they do deserve to be loved, just like any pedigree. They do deserve to be in a home. So hopefully now we will be able to find him a new owner and to give him a good home. Come, let's go.
Is that you?
I think strays are a group of very misunderstood animals. People have the impression that they are aggressive because when you see them in our heartland, okay, especially children or even some people who are afraid of dogs in general, they tend to shout at the dogs, shooing them away, or some may even throw things at them. Of course, the strays, they want to defend themselves. That's where they start barking or even running away. So, at times when they start barking, it is not their way of showing you that they are aggressive towards you. They are telling you to keep away from them. They are afraid of you. They are actually very scared of humans. They are so misunderstood. So people always label them as aggressive. So it is important for the younger generation to see them in a very different light. It is important for them to really look at how they are trying to survive in our world. The world is made out of many things, many types of living things, humans, animals, and dogs. Stray dogs, especially stray dogs, stray cats, they are part of us. If we are unable to coexist with them, then I really don't know what empathy are we trying to teach our younger generation. Hey! Stay there. Come, come. while he has a quite bad yeast infection when he first came in. So we have to shower him at least twice a week until his skin gets better. So you could see that his fur is actually recovering very well. The more serious so-called part now is the tail. Okay, you can see that the tail is still not fully recovered. That's why we are still showering him like twice a week. There was one fine day, one evening, okay, it was raining quite heavily. I saw him alone on the road with a cone on his head. The cone was actually made out of cardboards. So I saw him crossing the road with the cone on his head and he couldn't see vehicle coming. So he was actually almost being knocked down by a huge truck. Luckily, he was not being hurt that day. So I took off his cone. He was very hungry that day, so he ate a lot of food before I let him go off lah. Then I followed him and realized that he belongs to one of the factory nearby. So I spoke to the factory workers, explaining to them that the intention of putting a cone on him is good because they don't want him to scratch or lick his own wounds. But because he's a stray, he will go out onto the road. So with the cone, he couldn't sense any danger on the road. After talking to him, we also realized that the workers, they don't have the capacity to bring him to the vet. That's where we offered to take him to the vet. Then we sterilize him, and from then on, he's with us. So he has been with us since Chinese New Year Eve. Very shy. Egglet was one of our feeding dogs. She was actually being so-called abused by the workers out there. So there were times when we went down to the feeding ground, we will see her with injuries on her. Apparently some workers were telling us that there are very mean people out there pouring hot water onto her. That's why we took her out from the factory. I would feel that humans probably, sometimes when they couldn't have any sense of achievement, they take it out from those who can be easily bullied. So they find a sense of satisfaction, These are the weaker ones and they find themselves more superior, I would say, if they are able to harm them or to hurt them in a way. Every Stray Matters started with a Facebook page. The intention was to create awareness for people to get to know about the strays in Singapore. There was one day when I was caught by one of the Golden Retriever Club members that they saw a Golden Retriever out there. So I went to the feeding site and saw this Golden Retriever look-alike Singapore Special, whom I named him as Goldie. And initially I really thought that he was a Golden Retriever. So we started feeding him, conditioning him, and that's when the main feeder of that stretch of road told me that if I want to take Goldie off the street, I need to take his brother along. So in the end, on the day of trapping, not just Goldie himself went into the corral. There were a total of 4 dogs who went into the corral, including his brother Abang. So I told myself, well, we just take 4 if we need to take them, we just took all the 4 off the street. So after taking the 4 of them off, we still have about 6 dogs that reside in the same vicinity. So every morning I will have to still wake up at around 3-4 o'clock in the morning to cook for them. After a long day at work, I will rush back home to pick up the food and go all the way from Sengkang to Jurong to feed them. I began to find it very tiring. It's not sustainable if I were to do it alone. That's where I started asking my group of friends who are also dog lovers to step up to be one of my feeders. I was lucky and I found about 2 to 3 feeders. Eventually, with the Every Stray Matters Facebook, we were able to recruit more feeders, and as of today we have good so-called 7 regular feeders whom we take turns to go down to the feeding grounds to feed about maybe 25 to 30 dogs every day.
For the cat sleeping?
The cat sleeping Hello. Hey. You want?
There, one ear.
Come.
1 ear.
Okay. Next. Each time when I go feeding, I will have to cook about 16 kilogram of pork and beef together with maybe about 12 to 15 cups of rice. Yeah, and I need to cook it very early in the morning so that the food, there is enough time for the food to be cooled before we go out to feed, the strays. He's behind you. Hey! Chante. Come, I see your eyes. What happened to your eyes? It's okay. Here you eat. Okay, go. Okay, Mama. I can see that he has lost weight, and you look at the eyes, right? There's one droopy eye. But that's always the painful part, that we cannot bring him off just like that. He's definitely not very well. You can go down here, they are very friendly. Hey! Come. Chưa? Sao Tông. Đấy. Ăn. Come. Come on, Mom first. Mama, that's your food. So if you look closely to the place whereby they are living in, they are mainly industrial buildings. It's not a kampong style, or it's not a forested area. Unlike in the past, probably they could still hunt, the strays could still hunt for, say, maybe chickens or even rabbits. So these strays have no other food source. Their only meals actually came from feeders. So if I were to stop feeding them, it will also mean that the dog don't even get one meal a day. Yeah, that's why I told myself I have to continue. At least I can't give them a lot, but at least I give them a meal a day. Yeah. There, Tommy, Tommy,来, come, you see this, come, come. Hey, you want duck, then you must eat this first, okay? Mama, okay, Mama first. You can see that they are very mild in the temperament. Even when the birds are near them, they will not want to attack the birds. If they were to attack these small animals or even like cats, birds, the main reason I would think is they're hungry. They need food. So their hunting instinct comes in. Yeah. Okay.
Very happy.
Yeah. You want treats? Because he knows that after the food, I'll give him treats. Okay, come, let's go. Come, follow. Let's go. Go there. Come. You want some more, huh? Come, let's go. I will put him in there. So Tommy is very cute. If you don't give him any treats, right, he will run after my car. It's quite painful to see them running after your car. It's actually their way of telling you that, hey, can you bring me home? I need a home. Why don't you just get me into your car and bring me home? As much as we love to take them off the street, but money is finite. Even if we are able to find him a boarding place, every month we have to pay like 450 to 500 a month. And if we don't get enough funding, there's no way that we can sustain, keeping them in boarding. Of course, it would be good if more people were to step forward telling us that they are willing to foster our dogs for us, then that will solve, I would say, will solve many problems. Because we do have a lot of strays that very willing to be loved, okay, but just that they were never given a an opportunity to go into a home. So if we have people stepping forward telling us that, hey, I'm very willing, to look after this stray for you, step forward, then we will prepare the stray for you to bring it home, and they will be more than happy, I would say, to be loved by you. Okay, usually we try not to waste the food. I will not just be waiting for them to finish and to clear the rubbish. We want to save the food for other strays. So we will collect back the food, and then when we repack them into packets of food again, then we add in more meat for the next dog. Okay, a lot of people always think that every stray matters, asking for donation to feed the strays. Actually, none of my feeders are using any of the donation funds to feed the strays. In fact, every one of them feeding out of their pockets. They are paying for the food and petrol and everything else that they need to feed the strays. Nothing is from the donation. Okay, on an average, each feeder is spending about maybe $80 to $90 per feeding per week. But there are many considerations when we want to rescue a dog. Like this factory, there are 2 dogs, right? If we were to rescue one, what will happen to the other one? We don't want the other to be left all alone by himself in the factory. That's why it is not easy to per se that I want to take this dog away means I take this away. There are many things to consider, like are we able to trap 2 dogs at the same time? What will happen to the other dog if we were to leave him behind? Yeah, many things to think about before we decide which dog to rescue. Today got a lot of vehicles parked here, so must be careful. Hey! Bye-bye! Bye! Come! Hey, come,来! Hey! Come on, come on. Bye-bye, come. Come, you eat. Okay, this bad one is friendlier than the other one who is more barky. Hey, how are you? How are you? Come, now. You eat your food, okay? Here. Hannah, it's okay, come. Now. Now. Hey, I leave it here. The other one is more skittish. That's why these 2, right, if I were to take, the black one is easy. The other brown one is very difficult to take, and we don't want to leave him behind alone. Yeah. Otherwise, you look at the living environment, it's actually quite bad. Okay, so what I do is I will just leave it here, then they will eat when we are gone. Okay, I leave my food here, okay? So you see, even if he's very barky, that's because he's telling you to, hey, don't come so near to me. Come on, bye-bye. Okay, this is the place where they will sleep in every day and night. So they will usually hide under the machineries or sometimes under the canvases. And you can see from the flooring, right, there are actually many sharp objects, chemicals, yeah, stones. Many factory owners want to keep dogs as their guard dogs. If they're kind enough, some of the factory owners will actually release the dog at night for them to patrol around their factory. But there are also very unkind owners, the factory owners. They will leash their dogs up 24/7. Sometimes cage them in a very, very small cage whereby they will need to pee, poop, and even eat, in the same space, confined space that they were given. During the Chinese New Year, when we go out to the industrial estate and drive around, we notice that many dogs are being chained up. And because it's a long holiday, the gates are not open, and as feeders, we have no access to get close to the dogs. They are barking, telling us that they're hungry, but yet nobody is feeding them. And from far, you can actually see that, they are actually sleeping and lying down on their own poops and pee, and their bowls are empty. We want to help them, but yet we can't do anything most of the time. The authorities will tell us that the dogs are in their premises, they are the owners. They will not be able to tell us whether the dogs are being registered. So just telling us to keep away away from that property, it's very difficult to let it go lah. So I go to bed with the images of them going hungry, not just for one day, but for the whole week. Of course, we will try to create some awareness. We will post the photos asking for help. We even go now to beg the owners to buy them coffee, tell them, try to convince them, but the success rate is very low. It's really very low because ultimately they feel that the laws are protecting them. They have the right to own this dog. Yeah. As parents, as educators, we always tell our children, we have to have empathy towards animals, to treat not just fellow humans nicely. We need to also learn to be kind to the environment, to the animals around us. But yet, our rules and legislation doesn't protect the animals well enough. And we are actually giving these people a license to abuse their dog, to ill-treat, their dogs. So it's something that I thought as we progress as a nation, as we talk about empathy, talk about kindness, I think these are some things that we should really look into. Not just, kindness in general, it's not just towards human. It is really towards the whole world, towards animals, towards plants. They have a right to coexist with us. We should have the intellectual ability, the capacity to even think better than animals. But if we do not change the laws, at this rate that we are going, we are actually allowing humans to behave worse than animals because they are abusing the animals just because they have a license to own them, just because they have a license to abuse them. Yeah. We call him Mata, like the police Mata. Okay, that is police. From his eyes, you can actually see that he loves me a lot. Yeah, he's always following me around. So. Police. Okay, go and eat. Yeah, this don't happen overnight. It's with a lot of patience. I've been trying for the last 4 years to feed him with my hand. It really takes a lot for them to learn to trust us. Yeah, no one? How about this? The one. You want the duck? Nah. The duck? Nah. Snowy. Good girl. I like to pamper them with treats. It's one way of them feeling that they are loved, they are important. The reason why I'm always taking my own sweet time feeding the dogs is because I want them to feel love. They are not just strays to me. If I could give them a home, I would definitely want to. But because I couldn't do that, so I thought I'm only here once a week, spending a bit more time with them, will make a difference in their life. Even though that we only see them once a week, you could actually see how they are trusting me. So imagine if you were to bring them home, giving them love 24/7, how much they will be able to trust you. Besides trusting you, I'm very sure that they will love you unconditionally. I'm very sure of that. Now it's about 8:30. We're going to my last feeding spot whereby I will put my last 2 packets of food for maybe about 20 cats. Yeah, let's go.
Parking mode off.
Even though I have been doing this since 2019, I enjoy what I'm doing because the happiness is unmeasurable. The moment you see them eat your food and they walk away happily, wagging their tail, sometimes if you notice or if you watch closely to their face, they're actually thanking you, by slightly nodding their head, smiling at you. So there's this kind of satisfaction and happiness that you can never buy with money. What I hope is more people get to know that actually strays are not aggressive, and hopefully in years to come we are more receptive towards having them back into our heartland. And of course, for Every Stray Matters, we hope that the youngsters will believe in what we are doing and to carry on with what we believe in.